Hello. I am Razorbladekandy, the successor of the greatest MGTOW, Razorbladekandy. You can call me RB Gay. I want to continue his legacy of being pro-male and help liberate the male sex. To start, I decided to pay tribute to him and upload one of his blog posts about what equality is, and why it is important. I want to note that even though I am a fan of RBK, I don't agree with his views on cultural Marxism. But I want to keep his blog post intact for this video. Equality. What is equality? In maths and physics it means the value being measured of the first subject is not above or below the subjects it is being compared to. But when we talk about social equality, it means one demographic of people are not advantaged or disadvantaged to another. To make equality, is justice, as in the definition of justice, to make equal. Now there are two ways of looking at this, equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. You simply can't force an equality of outcome. Some people are just better than others. And maybe some demographics are better than others for whatever reason. Sometimes neither group is biologically advantaged over the other, but mathematical probability does result in one group of people having a greater outcome. If an equal number of black people, white people, Asian people, Indian people, all rolled a 12-sided dice, and we added up the totals, one race is bound to have the highest total, another the lowest total, and the others somewhere in between. This is neither the result of their biology or prejudice on behalf of the dice. It is merely a chance-driven outcome. In fact, minorities often come up short because they are a numerical minority. Even on a per capita basis they come up short due to the fact the higher the numbers, the higher the maximum outcome per roll of the dice is met, when the dice are of remarkably high numbers. A phenomenon called cultural Marxism assumes all inequalities to be based on discrimination, bigotry. The reason is because they believe we are all blank slate and that all humans are the same and that all differences are the result of social opportunity. Thus all inequalities are based on discrimination of opportunity. This of course, is pure rubbish, and even they themselves don't believe this, because where is the outrage over the nearly all-black NBA? Cultural Marxism is a resent-driven ideology. These alienated individuals with inferiority complexes develop a type of samephobia, or oikophobia, fear of home, family, familiar, likeness, which make them hate, fear, and distrust their peers, the ones that alienated them. This hate, fear, and distrust, is aimed at their fellow white, their fellow male, their fellow heterosexual, their fellow cisgendered, their fellow American, their fellow Canadian, their fellow Norwegian. It is anti-nationalism, a hatred of the home, the family, the peer, the nation, the tribe, the race. It is resent-driven, as is the socialist Marxist egalitarian left wing. It's all psychologically motivated by guilt or resent. I won't go into any more depth of the cause and effect of this phenomenon. But suffice it to say, I do not support equality of outcome. I do however support equality of opportunity, and equality of treatment. For example, if a woman kills her husband she should be given the same sentence as a husband who kills his wife. If a female teacher sleeps with a 14-year-old student, she should be given the same treatment as the male teacher who slept with a 14-year-old student and so on. That's what equality looks like. And a proper men's rights movement should at the very least be concerned with establishing equal lawful treatment among the sexes. Equality is women getting drafted right alongside of men. If a fat couch potato of a man, with depression and social anxiety, can get drafted, so can a dainty woman. Being female and thus an inferior soldier shouldn't save her, because being fat, weak, lazy, out of shape and being emotionally frail doesn't save a man. It shouldn't save a woman. You are either disabled, or you're in the army now. And banning a male draft is pointless because if a nation is under attack and the leaders must either surrender or conscript its citizens into the military, a draft will be instated as a last-ditch effort to avoid surrender, if the military leaders believe a draft can turn the tides in a war. So there's always going to be a draft. Women need to get drafted right alongside of men, and therefore should be signing for selective service just like men. Selective service is a USA mandate on all males age 18 to 25. That's equality. No one gets a free pass or gets off easy. Now that I have told you precisely what equality is, Now we move on to why is it important, and why should anyone bother fighting for it? This gets tougher to answer since it plays on humanity's internal sense of right and wrong, morality, which may have an evolutionary basis, but is ultimately subjective. If you don't have a problem with inequality, then I suppose you support slavery and mass ethnic extermination. After all, those two things are extreme examples of inequality. If you don't believe that one group should hold dominion over another, then you support equality. And I should also add, I do not believe that men can hold the privileged position of women, since their privileged position is an unnatural state, requiring the sacrificial shoulders of men to stand on. To ask why equality is important, is to ask why is justice important. Justice means to make equal. Why do we fight for justice? Why not let the psycho murderer that killed your grandma for fun, just walk free? Why do we want to imprison them, rehabilitate them, or execute them? Where does that come from? Why do we punish thieves, murderers, rapists, and all-around criminals? To do this is an effort to make justice, that is, to make equal, an eye for an eye. Rather than trying to go into a long tirade about human evolution, the basis of human morality, and social cohesion, and how altruism is real but ultimately a manifestation of selfishness? Rather than trying to get into all of that, the simple answer is, equality is good, equality is proper, seeking equality is a natural human tendency. Now obviously, those who have the power in a society are opposed to equality because it means they may have to give up a privilege. But the disempowered seek equality because they have something to gain. Altruism then kicks in for those who have power, and they altruistically part with it, sometimes. And this altruism is based on self-preservation. I'm sure you've heard the statement by Martin Niemöller. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out. Because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out. Because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out. Because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. This is a statement on social cooperation, or morality. And this is where altruism comes in. Just because the little guys are getting fucked over, and it doesn't concern you, doesn't mean you shouldn't care. Because if you have no one's back, no one will have yours. Altruism is more prominent among equals. But when one is advantaged and the other disadvantaged, specifically to those advantaged people, altruism gets stretched, but can still be present. Some people are willing to part with a little bit of privilege in the name of justice, fairness, equality, because a person holds these things as virtues. And they hold these things as virtues, as personal values if you will, because it is instinctive. It is instinctive because the practice of such behavior, morality, has benefited the species. Example, those who cooperate and parted with extra crops to the less fortunate were repaid by the community when their family had a bad crop and longed for food. Those who defected, and turned a blind eye to the suffering of their fellow townsmen, were distrusted and not helped in their time of need. They and their family were left to die, back in the days of a harsher environment. Those with altruistic tendencies lived to reproduce and have their offspring live to reproduce. Those who weren't powerful enough to never need help, and yet acted greedy, survived less, therefore their greedy genes reproduced less. Experiments with the prisoner's dilemma have shown how humans cooperate and defect. In a large group setting, defectors get distrusted, those who cooperate got protected. Because this is based on memorizing a person's level of cooperate and defect. This also explains why in high population densities, where no one remembers anyone's charity or greed, we see higher psychopathy. At any rate, the tendency to seek equality is human nature. The tendency to give up privilege in the name of justice, is also human nature. Equality is good, and we must act upon this to be good. It is good because it ultimately helps a group to survive. Or to put it simply, I am discontent with being a second-class citizen because I was born the male sex. I want equality. And those greedy defectors who tell me I shouldn't have equality, must perish.